Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself, George, joined by Tate tonight for a brand new movie review. Something very rare is me popping upon an animated video review. This is, of course, the new film, The Mitchells versus the Machines, directed by Mike Render, and, of course, produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who has been plastered all over the marketing for this film. Obviously, the Lego movie. How do I start then? Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, kind of a chance of Meatballs. They've kind of become the sort of the counteractive Disney animation sort of power force recently. That's a conversation for another time, maybe. But of course, we are talking this brand new release. We're going to give our review on it. We're going to keep things spoiler free, and if we do dip into spoilers, we'll give you a heads up. But this is, of course, streaming on Netflix. But before we get into that, I'm going to hand over to Tate with the socials.
Yes, sure. So please do follow us on all of our different platforms just so you can keep up to date with all the videos that are coming out. We've got a busy schedule coming up. So please go onto Facebook. That is Facebook. Just type in Cinema Savvy. Go onto Twitter. That is @cinema_savvy. Go onto Letterboxd. You can find us by typing Cinema Savvy. And if you go into the description, we have a TeePublic link as well.
Definitely. So everyone have a quick check out of those. But this has been an interesting one. So we always speak about sort of thoughts going into these films, very different. You know little bit more than I do about this, because I've mainly heard of this over the last sort of couple of weeks, where a lot of people, I think, when a film's positive, when they have their social media embargo early, the review embargo early, and I kind of wish that there's a really quick thing that I'd have requested it from Netflix, because this film has had a lot of word of mouth. I hadn't seen any of the trailers, and however, this has been, I guess, a victim of coronavirus. We should say that this was a Sony film, was due to come out February last year, and Netflix ended up buying the rights off them this January for $100+ million, which isn't surprising, because so many of the studios are just selling stuff up just to trying to get as much money as they can.
Yeah, so I remember seeing a trailer for this film. I want to say it was last year at some point, and the film was called Connected. Which is, I'd say, a much more succinct title than The Mitchells versus the Machines, but I'd say for this film, both of them work quite well in their own way. And then it went very quiet. Obviously, we had coronavirus. We didn't hear many updates about this film. And then suddenly, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I saw another trailer pop up, and I was like, oh, they've changed the name of the film. That's fine. I have no idea when it's coming out. It didn't actually say when it was coming out. And then it was last week, I think you actually put it in chat, George. It's like, oh, The Mitchells versus the Machines out next week. And I was like, wait, what? The film's coming out? I had no idea. I think that might be, a possible negative for the film, just the marketing. I don't think enough people know about the film being out, and I don't think enough people are aware of the film's existence. I know that it's been on Netflix homepage today when I went to go watch it. So maybe they're trying to get people to watch just through kind of random clicks and stuff like that, of people going on Netflix on their kind of daily visit. But I feel like this film deserved more marketing than maybe what it did in the end, because I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I really did. And I think it's pretty much positive across the board. I mean, we've already got people in the comments saying they've enjoyed the film, they like the film. So I'm surprised they didn't advertise this film a lot more.
Yeah, it's really interesting with these, because I've had this issue with Amazon recently, where they've just had that Without Remorse come out, a Tom Clancy adaptation, which should be big, which has Michael B. Jordan. It should be big, and there's like no marketing at all for it, no nothing. You had Coming to America, which was essentially word of mouth, and then about like the week it came out, people started talking about it. That should have been a high-profile marketing. And Netflix, came up in January like, we're doing one new film a week because we're all about new content and all this crap. And you kind of sit there thinking, well, don't brag that you got a new film coming out a week, because you might have 51 crap films and one good one. The problem with juggernauts like Netflix now is that this is just something to add on a Friday. This is and this isn't my opinion of the film. I adore this one, but the marketing of the streaming services have done the last. I don't want to sit here and say since Corona, because I think a lot of it was shabby before Corona, but all they've done is just buy stuff over the last year, lob it onto Netflix to say it's theirs, and they slap it on the Netflix original part of their website. And I'm sat there like, I get you paid for the distribution rights, but to me that doesn't make it a Netflix original. When it opens up with the Sony logo as well, that is even more of a sort of, Sony just cashed in.
Sony and then Columbia, and just like, hold on, they had the Netflix logo beforehand. Like, they're not even involved.
Yeah, and this is my problem, is that the streaming services are so bad at marketing stuff. I'm looking at Amazon. I haven't watched Invincible yet. Everyone I know has been telling me to watch it. I've seen so much about it online, all on social media, all on like group pages. Really good stuff, really good articles, and it's not popped up on my Amazon homepage once in the last like month when it's been airing, and it's meant to be incredible. And there's a discussion I think to be had on how bad marketing's been. I understand that, you know, obviously coronavirus lockdown, there's less budgets, they don't want to put marketing money in, but this film would be a massive hit. You know, I think at cinema, and we're seeing now a bounce back in America where, you know, films like Mortal Kombat's done really well financially, Kong v Godzilla's doing really well financially, and we're starting to see a boom back, and obviously cinemas are going to open up here in the next couple of weeks, and it's kind of really disappointing. I don't know if I'd have gone to the cinema, but I'd like to have known this was coming out, and I think that's the problem. It gets to a Friday, and it's like, oh, look, there's another new Netflix thing. I'm just going to quickly bring up a comment from Carl.
Yeah, sure.
Before COVID hit, he saw the trailer up times. He thought it generic, but it really surprised him. Same here. I didn't see trailers, but off this design, I think the main selling point for me with this film was Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And I think heading into that film, it was very much that, you know, the guys that did Spider-Man, it's the Spider-Verse, and they did slap that on a couple of the posters and stuff. And it's really interesting seeing how they've approached it, because I've not seen Cloud of a Chance of Meatballs, but I love the fact that sort of straight away heading into this film, the reputation online, this didn't come across like the bog standard animation film I was expecting to see. I think it was so different, it worked.
I was going to say, they've already cemented themselves as some of the smartest writers in Hollywood as far as what comes to like kids films, especially with the animated category. I think the kind of humor that they aim for, and they know it's a lot of visual puns, and it's a lot of kind of wordplay that goes with it and everything like that. And there's so much more you can do with animated films that you can't always do with live action films. And that might be another thing that we can go into another day with why they possibly didn't work with Disney when it came to Solo, a Star Wars story. But when it comes down to animated films, the second you see Phil Lord, Chris Miller like slapped on the front, you know exactly it's going to be a fantastic film. You know it's going to be a fun journey. You know the writing is going to be sharp, it's going to be witty. And I guess now going with it, the animation is going to be memorable. I know they don't probably have as much say into that, but it's so nice to see yet again another completely different style of animation done with the film. And as cartoony as it looks, it still feels like a Phil Lord and Chris Miller film. It's so weird in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to quickly bring up the synopsis here as well, because I think this probably epitomizes Lord and Miller in truth. It's a quirky, dysfunctional family's road trip is appended when they find themselves in the middle of the robot apocalypse and suddenly become humanity's unlikeliest last hope. That is something where you can look at this photo behind just the background if you've not seen it. You can tell there's going to be different animation. I think I'm going to jump back to Spider-Verse again, because when I watched that film, the big thing for me was that felt like I was watching a not live action. It felt like I was watching a comic book animated to life. And that was their approach as directors. It was this, we want it to look like it's been in the comics, but also like it's its own thing. And there's really fun, different stuff they were able to do in that. And this film feels like a bit of a blend of that. The animation style is very much, it is 3D animated, but it's not trying to be like that Pixar 3D, that Disney 3D. Yeah. It feels like the animation is appropriate to the film, because obviously the main character, she's going to film school and she makes films and stuff and online videos, and it feels like it has that sort of quirky edge that you'd expect from somebody that is going to go out and making these really weird films and stuff. And I think that's what made it work. Sort of going back to Spider-Verse, that the animation suits the film. It's not like they've had an idea for a film, but they must format it in a typical 3D animation style. This was like, we're going to do our own thing, and I think that's what helps this stand out more than the others I've seen recently.
I was trying to kind of pinpoint what it reminded me of in certain different elements, and it almost felt like they stop motioned it and then animated the stop motion in some parts. It was really weird. It felt like a sketch kind of styled comedy show that you'd get on like a weekly basis, but it was just put into a film format as well, which helped with the writing. There was a few cutaway gags they had during the film, a few throwbacks and callbacks to various different parts of the film. But to go along with this humor, you do have that heart, and to go along with that animation style, you do have moments where that kind of hyper wackiness that comes with the animation lends to moving the story along. Like, you can have all of these kind of crazy animations going off with characters and different reactions, but a simple heart on the screen breaking next to the character, it's brilliant. It's fantastic. It's very Scott Pilgrim-esque, actually. If this was made into live action, I feel like it would be very similar to that style of filmmaking if that was done.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak too much about Scott Pilgrim. It's a long time since I've seen it. I've never read the manga for it, but it's one of them where I think with this, you are right in what you're saying with it. It feels different, and I think it's the way they try and emote or have communication, and then you get some of the weird live action stuff. And all that. Anyone that knows me knows, like, I love my memes and stuff like that. But this film opens with basically sort of what you'd expect off a subreddit or like meme stuff and the chat. And I thought that's what made it stand out, that it wasn't afraid to be so weird. And I kind of sat here because I always approach anime films not in a horrible way, with how are kids going to enjoy this? Because the primary function of animated films 90% of the time are for kids, and this is a family film. This is I wouldn't say coming of age film. I know there's essences of it, but this is very much a father and daughter story. Obviously, you've got the main character of Katie, and I guess in the family you've got Rick, who's the father. I'd say they're the main two. Then we've got Aaron, the brother, and Linda, the mother. As far as dysfunctional families go, it's fine. I like the fact it felt different, that you had this sort of nature versus technology angle. I don't think many films have done stuff like that before, which I think also helped this stand out in its own right. And it didn't come across like that. I've seen this 100 times. This is styled differently. This feels very different to other films, whether it's live action, whether it's animated. And I think you really connect with them in that sort of that bond. And it's like, I guess it's sort of the growing up that the father sort of can't. I don't understand horrible, not adapt it to modern technology, but it's very much that age difference and how like the world is developed around these people and these clashes of character. And I think that angle worked so well emotionally connecting those two leads.
I was going to say the story is a very basic concept. It is dysfunctional family. You've got the two key characters who are opposite ends of the spectrum. They get into arguments, they fight, but then they do have to come together in the end. And it's such a basic story when you lay out like that, but the way the film presents itself, the way the characters are presented in their own way, the fight between nature versus technology, the fight between kind of having to grow with change and kind of the changing of the times and stuff like that, but also remembering the past and having to go with kind of basic technologies and having to survive through that way. It presents itself in such a way that it doesn't feel like a basic concept, and you kind of get swept along the ride, you get brought into the journey, and by the end of the film you do almost feel like a member of the family, because they take so much time into developing individual traits for all the characters that you feel so connected to all of them by the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you expect that, and it does work. And I think what they've done with that is the characters are so different that I guess we can say you've got like the dinosaur obsessed little brother. You've got obviously the film daughter, the mom that's, I guess, I wouldn't say the mom's got much development, but I guess the father's got that nature background, and the mother's very much moved on from that and is in that modern world. And I think by taking that basic approach and then mixing in modern values with it, if that makes sense, and not having it be, you normally in a thing, what you expect the jock younger brother or like the girl that's in relationships, you'd expect those stereotypes, and it doesn't do any of them. And I think that's why I think them as a family stand out so different. And I guess we've got the pug, which is one of the standaway moments for all the comic relief, done really well and has a humongous role. And we've got a comment right before we put anything from Dave, who put dog pig, loaf of bread. That was genius. That's some of my favorite stuff. Just saying that straight away, but it's what you expect from a family film, and I think it does. An animated film, you can't. I'm not sitting here and going to say I want to see them die, but there are moments in which you think, oh, like these feel like they're in peril, and I don't normally get that in animated films. And I think the outcomes of it are what you expect from an animated film. However, I think the fact they're all perfectly cast, I think I've just had a comment from Carl saying the same thing. Danny McBride was perfect. I did think for like a couple of seconds it was Seth Rogen. I know it was Danny McBride, but there's a couple of like Seth Rogenisms, but those guys are great. And I think Danny McBride doesn't get enough to do that isn't his normal stereotype stuff. So playing that pushy, different dad, I think was really interesting for him. But as far as the voice acting went as well, I absolutely love the cast they had for this. Maya Rudolph playing the mother. I know the director Mike Rianda voiced the little brother as well, the dinosaur living one.
That was one of the only criticisms I would go with it. It was a bit unusual having this little brother with such a kind of an unusual voice, shall we say? I feel like it's the one thing that just didn't fit his character, but they managed to make it somehow work in the end. You get used to it throughout the film. It was just a bit of kind of not a shock to the system, but it was a bit different to start off with, and you kind of have to build yourself into it as the character gets built out and fleshed out a little bit more.
Yeah, because I think you think at the start he's not going to have much to do, but he actually does get more as the film progresses, and you think it would be that weird stereotype sibling that just stands there by themselves and do anything, but he does have his moments, and I think what this does do in the writing is that you get moments near the end where these small moments throughout the film are built up into big reveals or for these big dramatic moments. I think it's quite powerful, and what I'm going to add to this is, as you'd expect for so many other cartoons, not only is it an emotional journey, it's funny. This is very, very funny, and I'm going to drop my first spoiler of the night. Furbies have changed forever.
Oh, Jesus.
That's probably one of the best scenes I'll see this year, I think.
I think I'm agreeing with you on that one. My God. Yeah, if you don't want to hear about the Furbies, then I'd say skip a little bit further on. Just skip a little bit further on this bit, because, dear Lord, the Furbies are not only evil, but they're satanic. And I can't even remember what the exact words of what they said, but it was something along the lines of we will steal their life essence or something like that, or it was just like so dark and demonic. But I think that is the Lord and Miller kind of humor coming through. It's the humor that I mean, they get it. It's a kids film, but the adults are watching as well. They've got to enjoy it as well. And just those moments for kids, they're just going, "Oh, Furby's dark," but the adults are going, "Ha ha, that's hilarious." Like,
yeah, I think with Furbies as well, like, I guess they are sounds really weird, not like cross generational, but they were a thing when we were kids. They were probably a thing before that, and they're still a thing now. And I think this was able just to add it in. You know, when you think of full on Chris Miller, I don't think of Solo, but you look at all the stuff you've read about what happened on Solo, that, you know, they'd spend an afternoon doing improv and doing really weird stuff, and it was a train wreck. And I absolutely love Lord and Miller, and, you know, I'm not being horrible saying stick to animation, no, because you helped do Jump Street, which was phenomenal as well. I think Star Wars was just a push too far. It just didn't work for all parties involved, and you don't see them talking about it and Disney talking about them. So I don't mind stuff like that, but you can see why they were approached for these bigger films. And I can't think of many of not necessarily Jews, but I can't think of many directors that could do something like this. They've got such a weird stamp. And I think it's like this weird that works, and I don't think people can do that. I don't think it's as easy as it sounds that look at this ridiculous thing that couldn't work, and it will work. I think there'll be so many films that people try that it doesn't work, won't get past the pre-production, won't even get to probably a meeting with these hypes, these companies. But these guys know exactly what they want to do, and I think they're using the system to bring in animators they know. I mean, this is a directorial debut. I don't know the series that he's done before. Let me quickly bring it back up.
It was Gravity Falls. He's done before.
And so I've not seen that, so I'm not sure in its history. But if people are going to get chances via these names as producers, that is the right thing to do, and to keep bringing on, I think, new directors. Because one thing I'll say, Sony isn't big on animated films. I would much rather see these newer things that aren't, you know, I do like my Pixar, don't get me wrong, but so many animated films are the same every year. You expect the same kind of thing, and, you know, maybe I'm discrediting the genre, and that's not my intention, but if you're going to get new people doing stuff, switching up, not to stay on Pixar, I love them. How many of them are the same directors and animators? And they are great at what they do, but it's very incestuous sort of subgenre within itself. And if you're going to get people getting these spots to then move on, I know that we're getting three co-directors for the new Spider-Verse film, which I'm really looking forward to as well. And there's so many different things they can do. I think it worked really well. And I want to bring up a comment by Dave, actually. You love the fact that Katie was gay, but it wasn't shoehorned in or forced into the story. It was who she was. And that's a big thing. And, you know, some people will look at that as a negative. Absolutely, I don't. And I think there'll be people that'll be like, I expect it to be a big thing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm in an era where, well, not an era, because there's loads of backwards people, older than us and stuff, but very personal outside of work. I know a lot of people that come out and it's not an issue to me, because I think if you're normal or not a bastard, there's no issue with anyone coming out or being that. It's a character's trope that they're straight or gay. To me, that's no issue. And to some people, it's the end of the world, and they'll get their clickbait and crying dislikes on that shit. But I think that you can have that maturity, and you see these stories how like younger kids are more accepting of things like that, because no one's born homophobic, racist.
No.
It's all down to, as Aunt Marge would say, it's down to parents. It's down to how people are brought up, what they learn, who they surround themselves with, what algorithms they're watching on their YouTube channels. That's, I think, a horrifically big one now. People watch the same shit over and over, and that's how their opinions get formed. But that's a very different conversation. But
Yes.
again, it was something that, for her age group, someone going to uni, it didn't need to be a big thing in this film, but they still put it in there, and it worked. It wasn't hammered in. It wasn't there. It was almost just natural character writing. And I think Tayte my hat off, it was perfectly done.
Yeah, I was going to say it's just a credit to just the finer details in the film, because it's not a big reveal moment. It's not something that's kind of made a massive kind of deal about. It's just normal. It's normal as part of the film, and it's so natural in the way they just kind of slip it in, and no one cares. And it's fantastic that we've almost got to the stage where hopefully we've got to the stage where it's not an issue at all. Please tell me it's not an issue. But yeah, no, it's once again a credit to the finer details of the film, and also Lord and Miller knowing the audience and knowing that stuff like that, it's fine to do. Like, I know in the past there is criticisms made of various different things. I remember only a few years ago when Frozen 2 was coming out and people were making comments on whether Elsa was going to be gay or not, and that being a massive deal. I'm glad that this film didn't make a big deal about it. I'm glad that this film didn't have to make a big deal about it. I think cinema and just in general life is becoming more accepting, and it might be another thing of kind of the old ways of kind of the woodworking, survival skills and stuff like that up against the new age and technology. It's another thing that you can kind of make the comparison of in the film, but I'm glad they didn't make a comparison on that subject in particular.
Yeah, cause it would have been too easy to do, and I don't think this is an insult as well. It would have just detracted from what I think the story is trying to do, because the essence of this story is a father and his disconnection with his daughter. And I think in terms of a plot and character element, I think they nailed that entire angle, that it has the satisfying ending, that does work. It's got the emotional beats. I've seen a lot of people online talking about, a lot of people saying they cried in the first 10, 15 minutes, which I did go in expecting some kind of up scene. I don't know why, but I think upset the boundary for crying in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Didn't obviously get any of that, but I thought their relationship was done perfectly. And I'm just trying to think of anything else I can say.
Just going to pull up Carl's comment. The two robots almost stole the show. I agree. The two robots were they were also among the comedic relief thrown into the film. But they have that kind of dark twist to them as well. I know towards the end, they make a couple of dark jokes kind of at the very end of the film, just to kind of, I say lighten the mood for us, but I love that kind of dark humor that they kind of pull in and stuff like that. But it's just an extra tool that Lord and Miller can use to just, push out the humor, but also push along the plot.
Yeah, exactly. They've got their moments of comedy, and they've got moments of plot driven where stuff relies on them. They have big moments, and I guess even they have their own development. And it's as simple as saying, can we just disobey a command? And I think that works in their own favor. I don't know if I've got too much else to say. I don't know if you have.
I think just finally, going back to not just Danny McBride, but the rest of the cast. This cast is stacked. Damn, like the people they got in for this film. You've got Danny McBride, you've got Maya Rudolph, you've got Olivia Colman, you've got Eric Andre, you've got John Legend, you've got basketballer Blake Griffin, Conan O'Brien. You have so many people in this film, which makes me even more confused as to why it wasn't advertised as much as it could have been, when you've got those names like in there, as well as Abby Jackson as well, Abby Jacobson, who's done Disenchantment for Netflix as well. So someone who's closely tied into Netflix. I'm just surprised they just didn't, Yeah, I just don't get it, because with Netflix they'll market the same sort of 3-4 things, and not to be horrible, when Strange Things comes out, that's their marketing that's for I was going to say that is then done for 5-6 months of advertising.
Yeah, or if there's another documentary about another person getting murdered, for another mystery, for another short thing for everyone to speak about for 2 weeks, they love getting those budgets up. But Yeah, I reckon there's definitely a conversation at some point about the shocking marketing of the last sort of year or two. What I want to kind of do, I'm going to bring up my final thoughts of this. I think
Yeah, sure.
this was easily. I mean, I've seen only about 20 new films this year, but this is easily in my top 3 of the year so far. It's set quite a boundary for not just, I think, the other films coming out, the other animated films. We're never getting 2 Pixar ones this year. Obviously, I've not seen Raya and the Last Dragon yet, so that's going to count. But I'm going to go as early to say less than 2 weeks after the ceremony that this could have the Oscar for next year. I don't, you know what they're like. They'll try and aim for a Disney Pixar one, but if anything's going to break it, it's going to be from the guys that already broke Disney's records. So I think this could be in a shout with the Oscars. I think this is amazing, and it's kind of a shame. I mean, like I said, I don't know if I'd have seen the cinema, but you know, if I was sort of 4 or 5 years old, this would be a great family film. And I guess there's a benefit of streaming that maybe on the algorithm for kids channels, it's all over it. Who knows? But this would have been massive. I think as far as the cinema release goes, it would have had word of mouth. We've had so many people talking about, as you said, some of those names marketing it, but a non-existing Netflix marketing campaign is the reason why maybe not enough people are seeing it, or you know, it's word of mouth. It's everyone telling each other to go watch it, and it's a shame when it comes down to it, because I thought it was pretty flawless in absolute truth. There's very few things I don't think didn't work, if anything at all. And I just sat back, you know, it was like 2 a.m. I watched this on Saturday morning, and it was just so much fun. I just couldn't turn off and go to sleep. I had to wait till it was done. And I'd take my half. I'd love to see more films like this. Maybe I need to.
Yeah, I would be shocked if we're not going to be talking about this film again come round Oscar time next year. I feel like this film could possibly get in for not only animated film, but maybe a long shot at writing. I know they don't usually tend to give it to animated films as far as a writing standpoint is concerned, but I think this film could have the legs for it. It's a fun family fantastic film. I mean, I enjoyed it. My dad watched it with me. He also enjoyed it quite a lot, which was quite surprising. It's something that anyone can enjoy, I think, and that is what cinema is all about. It's about enjoying the film. And yeah, I don't really know what else I can say about this other than go and watch it. It should be seen more.
Definitely. So everyone, like I said, it's on Netflix unless you live in China. Probably YouTube
Yes.
banned in China as far as I'm concerned. But you know, there's a reason Sony sold the rights to every country except for China. Maybe they're banking on some big money coming from over there. That'll be interesting to see how that fares at their box office. But we want to hear from you. We've had a lot of people commenting. If you missed it, if you're not watching live, let us know your thoughts on the Mitchells versus Machines in the comments below. We do reply to all comments on the channel. And of course, we're nearing some of our goals, so hit that subscribe button, do share the video and help the like out. If you like these videos, you know, the best thing is just to like them, because you get more algorithms, so you get more things like us to separate you from geeks and gamers and the shit like that props up on the YouTube these days. So do all of that. And Tate, if you want to quickly bring up the socials as well, where to find us.
Yes, sure. So if you go onto Facebook, you can find us. Just type in Cinema Savvy. If you go onto Twitter, it is @cinema_savvy. Go onto Letterboxd. We are Cinema Savvy again. And if you go into the TeePublic link in the description, there are some shirts based around the Oscars, which were last week, and also some James Bond ones as well.
Definitely. So everyone check them out. I want to thank everybody for watching, for joining us. Like I said, it's been a review that wasn't planned in truth a week ago, but it was one that I think we needed to do. We had a good time talking. So thank you all for watching at home, for commenting, and be sure to join us for Goldfinger tomorrow. See you then.
Yes.